Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. For those that are new here, I'm JB. I like to dance, I like to document my life, and I like to tell stories. For those of you who have been here, thanks for following along on the ride. If you guys like what you watch from this channel, please like, subscribe, send some comments down below, and we'll continue to keep pushing through all these videos. So for today is going to be a fun episode for me, at least. It's going to be about my latest dance visual called Becoming. If you don't know, I filmed a dance visual with my wife on my birthday to a Chance Pena song called Sleep Deprivation. And I'm just going to read you the synopsis that I wrote for this piece. So, sleep deprivation follows a man going through a season of personal transformation, wrestling with restlessness, self doubt, and the burdens associated with becoming someone new. Through moments of emotional vulnerability and internal conflict, this piece explores how the cycle of growth can feel both exhausting and necessary. So, for this video today, we're going to be talking about the entire process of making this short dance film, dance visual, whatever you want to call it. But we're going to be going over the choreography process. We're going to be going over the concept, filming, all of that fun stuff. So please enjoy and listen to me kind of nerd out about this dance visual that I was really excited to create. Guys, so to help with visualizing everything, I'm gonna put up my screen on this video. So if we see, we are looking at my Milanote board. Milanote is what I like to use to kind of organize different projects. So this board specifically is for Becoming. So if you notice here in the top of my board, I have the Joker dance on the stairs scene. Why do I have that? It's because that was the whole inspiration behind this film. So when we think about the Joker and we think about this scene in particular, this scene was very powerful because it shows the Joker's complete transformation into who he has become as a character. And so the idea of becoming plays on this so much, wherein story wise, Becoming tells the story of someone going through personal transformation. We'll get through this more in the choreography and filming breakdown, but pretty much we'll see that the choreography starts and ends the same, just with a very slight change to show that this transformation has happened and has taken place. So when we think about the concept also, we'll dive into this more again with choreography and filming, but the song specifically, this whole first section right here where it says, sleep deprivations got me at my heels this year, taught me how it feels to be lost and ambitious. I've been on a mission, I won't stop till I'm done. These 5 lines were the inspiration behind creating the choreography. Again, we'll get to that soon, but that is the general gist introduction into this short dance film. This dance film took a lot of inspiration from the Joker stairs dance scene. So, yeah, pretty cool. All right, so moving along, if we take a look into this spot right here on my screen, we filmed this at Carbon Canyon Regional Park, specifically the Redwood Grove Trail Path, whatever you want to call it. I forgot. But these were the reference photos that I found online on Google. And what was interesting about this was it showed a good balance of light and dark, especially if you play with different angles of light and placement of where the main character stands. So you can get a lot of cool silhouette feels, or you can get a lot of lens flares and all of that stuff, which are things that I really wanted to play with in order to properly tell this story about growth. With this one, we didn't get to go to the sites before filming. So what I ended up doing was I used an app online called Frameset, and this helped me to find reference frames and shots for this dance film. It helped a lot because when I was searching, I was really searching for frames that had trees in the background and a lot of hero shot moments where we see a main character standing in between the trees or in pockets of light, whatever have you. So that way, when we got to the location, we had an idea in mind already for how we wanted to shoot and to film this whole thing. If we even go to the organized view, I had a whole breakdown of everything that I wanted to do for each specific part of the film. So we have reference frames for the first stanza, the first chorus, the second stanza, going into the second chorus. But yeah, being able to visualize everything in a centralized space like Milanote and just being able to just dump all these reference frames and then being able to organize everything, it helped a lot because when we got there, it helped make the filming process so much smoother. And I think for anyone who's trying to make a short film or anything, it's very important to storyboard. So that way, when you get to location, you're not just guessing and you're not just trying to figure it out on the spot. Of course, with every film, there's going to be some form of improv happening, but at least you're able to get rid of a ton of it and you have a better plan going into the shoot. But yeah, that was the location, those were the reference visuals. Now we're going to talk about the gear. All right, guys, we're going to jump into gear and what I used to film this dance film. To start off, we have the camera. I used the Sony ZV-E1. This camera is notoriously known to overheat, but to be honest, in my use of this camera, which has been almost a year now, I've never had this thing overheat on me. And I think that's because when it comes to this camera, I always shoot, or I 90% of the time shoot at 4K 24. When I hear that this camera overheats, it's usually because people are filming at 4K 60 for extended periods of time. I don't do that. And so I've never experienced any sort of overheating. But of course, there's other factors too that I've heard with weather and humidity and all of these other things. I live in California, so take that as you will. Never had this thing overheat on me. But what I also did with this camera, I don't have it all with me right now, but I rigged this up in order to make it heavier. I had a V-mount plate, I had a V-mount battery, I had a top handle, we had the fan, which we didn't even use. And all of that was to make sure this camera was a little bit heavier so that way the footage would be just a bit more stable. When you have a heavier setup, you are removing micro jitters, not completely, but or you're able to help mitigate micro jitters. And that's a good transition because the lens that we used for this is the Helios 44-2. The core idea of this film was personal transformation and how growth, while beautiful, is also exhausting. And the moments of self doubt that we were trying to portray, it really makes you feel like everything is closing in on you and you feel this sort of tension internally. And that's why we chose the Helios lens for this shoot. It's because it provides this really unique look, especially with the bokeh. If you notice, there's almost like this twisted background when you watch this film where the edges really pull itself towards the center, and that kind of forces the viewer to pay attention to what's happening in the center of the frame, which is the dancing or watching the main character. And so using this lens was very fun. We wanted to use multiple lenses for this shoot, but I think when we got there and we were just testing the Helios lens before actually filming anything, the shots really just spoke to us and all the framing. So we ended up just using this lens the entire time. And the last piece of gear that I want to mention for this video is actually this filter right here. It is the Polar Pro VND CPL Gold Mist filter. Kind of self-explanatory with the VND part. It was very bright outside, so we needed a way to cut out as much light as possible. So that's where the ND part comes in. But the gold mist was very intentional. The gold mist filter blooms your highlights in a gold manner, and it makes your overall image warmer. And we wanted to bring out this feeling of nostalgia with the colors because we wanted to show that we're looking back at everything that happened in the year and taking that into account and adding that to telling the story of growth of the character. So having that nostalgia feel with the warmness of this filter really helped a lot when it came to the storytelling. So again, to recap the gear, we used the Sony ZV-E1, we used the Helios 44-2, and we used the Polar Pro VND CPL Gold Mist. Side note, for anyone who was doubting the ZV-E1 or is on the fence about it, it is a very capable camera. I know there's a lot of arguments right now with, oh, what is the best camera? Oh, OpenGate this, OpenGate that, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Personally, whatever gets the job done to tell the story will always be the best tool. Whether or not you need OpenGate, whether or not you need a big camera, a small camera, as long as you can tell your story with the tool that you have, by all means, use that camera. So that's gear. Let's jump into my favorite part, which is choreography and filming. All right, guys, we're going to jump into choreography and filming. Usually, the choreography process and the filming process happen separately, wherein I'll choreograph something and then later down the line, I'm like, oh, I want to film this and make something out of it. How can I readjust this to tell this story? But this time around, the choreography and the filming kind of happened at the same time in that I was choreographing to film. So what that means is when I was choreographing, in the back of my mind, I knew the story that I wanted to tell, and I had an idea of these different visuals and emotions that I wanted to portray. So when we think about this whole dance visual, there's 4 arcs to it. Arc 1 is establishing the character. Arc 2 is the adventure or the departure. Arc 3 is the doubt or the initiation. And arc 4 is the resolve or the return. And I mentioned those ors and like the departure, the initiation, and the return because this kind of follows the hero's journey story arc. I'm not going to go into detail about the hero's journey and what that is. You can look that up online, but this whole story follows that whole thing. So, in order to help visualize all these different story arcs, I'm going to take my timeline and I'm going to take these clips. I'm just going to make a compound clip, name this arc 1. So that way we can just click in here, and then we can start to see all of this cool stuff. So I'll just keep this on loop, or I'll just keep playing this arc, and then we'll talk about it. So when it comes to arc 1, we wanted to establish the character. We wanted to show that the character is tired, but at the same time, ask the question, why is he tired? And so when we hear the lyrics of the song, there were two lines that stuck out to me. This year taught me how it feels to be lost and ambitious. And then I won't stop till I'm done. What I wanted to do was to make sure there was this sense of repetition in this year has taught me X, Y, and Z, and I won't stop till I'm done. When we think about those two lines, my movement went upwards. My arms go up like so. That, to me, putting my arms up is usually a white flag moment, and that kind of connotation hints to admitting defeat. And while the nuance of that is still there in how the movement is executed, that movement was really there to show this movement here. That movement was really meant to show that there were so many things that happened throughout the year that were above the capabilities of the main character. And in the choreography process, I made sure that my facials really reflected that. I wanted to show disassociation. I wanted to show that I was tired. I wanted it to feel like I felt defeated. And so when we then repeat the movement on I won't stop till I'm done, that was to really show that there's still so much more that the main character wants to accomplish, and that he has goals, and that everything is necessary for the growth. And so the next lines leading into the chorus, that's this part right here after the drop, we wanted to start to show the adventure. This again leads into the chorus. And so the lead up ends with the characters back towards the camera. And if we just go back real quick so we can see all the colors, we notice that the character is standing in the dark and he is facing the light. This framing here where the character is in the dark but he is facing the light, this is to show where the character is currently. So restlessness, doubt, tired, all these negative emotions almost, and we show where the character wants to be, which is in this light moment that happens. And that is the new version of themselves. So again, arc 1 in summary is introducing the character. The character is tired. We want to show that there were a lot of things that happened that felt above him, and he also knows that he has these goals that, while may seem difficult and tough, they are all necessary as part of his growth. We keep going through this arc and we end up leading into the chorus with the main character standing in the dark, facing the light to kind of show where he is now and where he wants to be. That's arc 1. We're going to jump now into arc 2. All right, everyone. So arc 2, that is going to be the first chorus. So again, what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn this into a compound clip, arc 2, and that way we can jump in here and we can start to see everything that was happening. So again, in the earlier part of this video, we mentioned how arc 2 is the adventure. So choreography wise, the chorus is repeated this time around. There's the first chorus and the second chorus. When we think about choreography, I wanted to show a variety of up and down moments. So when you watch this whole section here where I'm dancing, you'll see that the up and down is represented in many ways. There's levels in the movement, meaning there's times where I am up and there's times where I am down. Execution wise, there's also those up and downs where some of the movement may feel relaxed, but then it transitions immediately into something hard. So, for example, what I mean by that is movement can be very relaxed, flowy, 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 and all of a sudden, boom, boom, I'm moving very hard. That is also showing up and down. In the way we film this as well in the chorus, we see that there is this, we called it the side scroller scene where it felt like Mario Party, or not Mario Party, it felt like Super Mario Bros. Nothing too crazy with how it was filmed. It was literally just walking together to get this shot. That in itself was also meant to capture the up and down in the journey. So, kind of showing that the path forward isn't always stable, but rather it's very bumpy. And again, keeping the theme in mind with how growth can feel both exhausting and necessary, going through these ups and downs, it does get very tiring, especially it when we go through that too in our lives. It just ups and downs, it does get very tiring, but it's also very necessary. And at the end of it all, there will be that resolve. And so we go through this whole section of the ups and the downs. And then moving on, this last half is done with a slower shutter speed. The reason why we did this was our way of transitioning into arc 3, which is doubt. We'll get to that soon, but we wanted to show that the character is in a very rough patch with the already shakiness of the footage, and now we have the blurriness of the character. We're really able to see now that there is something happening internally and that it's not clear. And so when we jump into arc 3, we'll see that it starts off with the character's face close up. It's to show that we are in our heads and that the self-doubt is settling in. And in order to transition into that visual, we use the slow shutter. It may not make sense to some people, but I feel like just showing self-doubt with a slow shutter effect to show this craziness felt right to me in telling this part of the story. So yeah, that is arc 2. Arc 2 is the adventure. We show that there are those ups and downs. The path is not stable, but it's rather bumpy. And then we also wanted to use the slow shutter effect in order to start showing self-doubt and that the character is very in their head, doubting this journey that they're on, questioning if it's even worth it to go through this struggle or to go through this growth. And that leads perfectly into arc 3, which is the doubt. All right, everyone, we have made it to arc 3, which is the doubt. So, per usual, boom, open this up, boom, we are in here. So, when we think about the second stanza of the song, this is where I started to break away from too much choreography and I wanted to play more with acting. Visually, I wanted to show what the inside of the mind looks like and how it's not always a clean path forward. So you'll see that we start this section off with a close up on my face, and then we transition to slow shutter scenes. This is really the self doubt kicking in, and more of what we talked about towards the end of arc 2, where the question of is this even worth it and should I keep going really starts to kick in. So what happens is from here we are close up, we do a close up on my face, and then we move into a section where it's just legs. And if we look, this section here, my arms are tied behind my back, and that was really to show that growth is necessary. We it it really is to show that we have to keep moving forward even though we don't want to. And that is why we go here, we're in our head, and then we're like, no, we have to keep moving forward. And then from here, the slow shutter starts to kick in. We're really questioning ourselves, is this even worth it? And then towards the end, there's no choreo anymore leading up here after I do this throw. It's just a slow shutter shot of me running and then me looking out into the distance. And then we ended up with me out of focus, but slowly I am now in focus. The reason why there's no choreo leading into the chorus is because we wanted this to feel more of a hero shot moment where the end goal is now becoming clear. The slow shutters are done, and now there is this clarity. And he kind of says that in the lyrics too. The end of the second stanza, he says, zoom out for some clarity. I wanted this to be the character walking forward into frame, and then the camera then focuses on him. This is very reminiscent to the ending of the first stanza because, as we recall, the character was standing in the dark facing the light. When we look at the end of the second stanza, the character is actually walking in the dark already, and the light is on him, and he then comes into focus. That is to visually show that instead of I am doubting, is this even worth it? Should I keep going? We're now saying I'm ready. So yeah, it was a cool contrast between the first stanza and now this second stanza, because rather than ending with my back to the camera, I'm now walking to the camera, and we're just like, yep, I'm here. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to tell my story. I'm ready to grow. Yep. So that is arc 3. That is the doubt, and it transitions perfectly into the next arc, which will be the resolve. So we are finally in the final arc of the film, which is the resolve. So if we jump into here, we see, number one, the actual choreography now. And quick side note, when it came to filming, we saw that there was this nice big patch of open land in the middle of all these trees, and that felt visually looking at it like the eye of the storm. But in my head, I felt like this was perfect for the aha moment of the film, which is understanding that everything happening in the journey is all necessary for growth. So we see that the character is doing the choreography in that patch of land, in that eye of the storm. All the trees are surrounding, or in this case, are behind the character. So we've kind of reached this moment of resolve. And then towards the end of the chorus, which is actually right about here, it then turns into freestyling, and it's quick cuts. This is really meant to be a callback to everything that the character has gone through, where it's not clean, it's not a one path fits all, it's not meant to be perfect. There's all these things happening, but again, all necessary for growth. And these are all things that the character has gone through. And when we get to the ending sequence, this is my favorite part of the entire film. Not because it's the end, but because of the nuances with it. If we remember the very beginning, the choreography starts off with me doing one of these, my arms coming out of the pocket, and then we do this whole thing and we repeat this arm thing coming up. In the final chorus, that same sequence happens again. So, head coming around, arms coming out of the pocket, and this right here. The key moment to show that I have transformed and have become this new person. The difference now is, remember how in the beginning of this video, I said, pay attention to how my arms are facing, or my palms are facing down. And I'm also looking down at the end to really show that I'm not just ready, I'm here, which is the whole transformation thing happening. The ending pose takes that beginning pose of looking down, but the resolve is very simple. It's just me, boom, looking up and flipping my arms up. And that was meant to show the transformation. So let's just watch it because I love this part. Beautiful. And then it goes up into the trees as the end. And so that is arc 4 of the film, where we finally get to see the choreography. There's the aha moment with all the freestyling and the flash cuts to show everything that has happened in the journey, and that growth is finally happening. There's nothing in between the character anymore. All these trees, all these obstacles and hindrances are gone, but they're still in the back because they still exist. It's just that now they're not really bothering the character anymore. And then at the end of the film, we have that beautiful moment where we take the exact intro, repeat it, but to show that the transformation has happened, we look up. And that was the choreography and filming behind Becoming. Well, guys, thanks for watching. If you like what you watched, please like and subscribe. If you resonated with this dance film, or if you liked it, also like and subscribe. Comment down below your thoughts on it. Check it out on my Instagram. I'll upload it on YouTube eventually. What I'm trying to do is to make a remastered version with sound design and all these other things to really help you feel more in the story and in the moment. But yeah, this piece was very personal to me, and there's a lot of other things that I can go into. And I know I was kind of yapping to a lot of you guys throughout this. Maybe a lot of the little nuances and whatnot just went over people's heads, but that's fine. You're here with me, you're listening in, trying to understand it too, so I appreciate that. But yeah, I know I can do better at explaining things. This is like my first time doing this, but it's something that I want to do more of, especially with future dance visuals or other short film things that I might do in the future. So yeah, thanks for being here, guys. Again, like, subscribe, comment, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.